right.
Storms are beyond, y'all.
SOB.
Street dance lifestyle, y'all. Yeah. SDL, y'all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Word. It's SDL, yo. It's time to tell the truth.
Bang.
You know what? We could start
What's
this
that,
baby
sir?
now.
That's what I'm saying. Why leave?
Why leave? We don't want to go.
Why leave? I don't want to go. Because I might lose it.
I don't want to go. Okay. Let's get this thing started. We got 4 people online already. Hello and welcome to second season, SDL number 16, the year-end interview.
Hi.
With Jimmy Cricket Coulter.
What up?
Let me give you your proper intro so folks can
Look at
understand what
Jerry.
this whole thing is about.
Jerry.
Who?
Jerry's in.
Jay's Art. What's going on, brother? You gonna like this one. All right, let's get it started. My next guest to me is a multi-talented creative artist. He has managed to stay creatively grounded by keeping an open line communication with the past. He's also someone that is always thinking of ways to cultivate and nurture the culture with both dance and dialogue. His ongoing mission to introduce and inform is consistent, whether it's on stage, through workshops, Q&A discussions, art illustrations, or just simply the club. He is not just simply a street dancer, but a public advocate for the street dance culture. Gentle ladies and men, I present to you Cricket.
Wow, man. That was dope. Thanks, bro. Dang. Thank you.
You know, I have to. It's long overdue.
Thank you, bro. Thank
So
you.
let's get into it. Who are you? Where you from?
I'm a little Jimmy to the fam. I was born in South Carolina, man, but then my dad's from Philly, my mom's from South Carolina, and he was in the military, so we always bounced back and forth between hometowns. And we eventually went back to I was born, we went back to Philly, went back to down south, and then came back to Philly again. And this time my dad got out the military, and Philly in the 80s was a special place. So my dad was like, let's get over to the suburbs, get y'all out of the crazy. And that's where I spent most of my early childhood, was on the outskirts of Philly in Willingboro, New Jersey.
Okay.
But we were just close enough to family and everybody in Philly where we were always back and forth. And plus that was always like the it's like if you live in Long Island or Jersey City, it's always good to have that city close by because it's always influencing. And plus we were just close enough to New York where we were getting that influence. You know what I mean? And when I'm saying that influence, and I'm not talking from the street dance point of view, I'm just like culturally, it was just dope to be in between Philly and New York because we were getting just the approach to arts and education was just different, man. And even cultural awareness, because you remember all the commercials, the approach to commercials we would get. Come on, man. Vegetable soup, Sesame Street, a lot of that early educational stuff was it wasn't just white. Vegetable soup and Sesame Street had a lot of African Americans, a lot of Latinx. We were getting a lot of everything. So creatively, we had a lot of that. And my parents, I guess they saw early on that I was, I had the arts. It's like a little disease. I had the arts because I was drawing and everything and doing a lot of stuff. And they kind of didn't understand it, but they gave me space. So I really gotta you know, I just never, my parents never put me in an environment where what I was doing creatively was kind of wrong, or they just always were kind of like, we don't know what this dude is doing. You know what I mean? And they would just let me do my thing. So, you know, that's huge. I think that was huge for me creatively. I think that's almost to a detriment because I'm always all over the place. You know what I mean? But I really look up to my parents for that. And you know, eventually, you know, getting the through, you know, through community and that adventurous spirit I had, you know, you start to, you know, you get inquisitive, and then, you know, we start to go into the city. Or first, you know, you begin to go, you know, it starts out with, you know, the block parties, the parties, and then you escalate to, like, you know, different school events. And I don't know if kids now understand, man. Like, school dances were serious, man. School dances and house parties were serious, because they weren't just social events. There was no Facebook. A house party or a social event is where you went to know what was cool, hear new language, see kids from other neighborhoods, see fashion. You would see stuff you never saw before. So that was, for me, was crazy, because I always wanted new input. You know what I mean? Like, even because I wasn't into graffiti, but I liked graffiti a lot. I was more into like comic books and cartoons, but just anything, any new input was serious for me. So, and that sense of adventure. So going to parties, going to block parties, you know, going to any kind of party event was just you just wanted to be a part of it, which led into skating rinks, and then going to the city just to be there, man, to hear new music, see new things. It was my progression through the club scene was just an extension of that, wanting to be into this, you know, be a part of something, man. Community, be a part of that alternative community, because there was a right now, I don't think people understand that, like, this was huge back in the day. Like, a nose ring was huge. It was a big thing. Now you can get all pierced up, but man, you couldn't get a job. I worked at Great Adventure, and I had dreads, and I used to have to twist down my dreads to fit it under my hat. And even still, I ended up quitting because they kept giving me a hard time about having dreads. People, now you could be in the football, play basketball with dreads. But these things back in the day when we were younger was like a big thing. It was like, oh, I just saw a girl with dreads. Oh, I saw a white girl with dreads. I saw, you know, this. I saw this dude with. It was just, all these things were like new, or you would hear hearsay. You know, yo, I went to this event and I saw this. You'd be like, what? What does that even look like? You know,
word of mouth.
You know, the big thing that used to, like, was huge when you saw somebody with an earring and a nose ring and it had a chain going to it, bruh, that was like insanity to me.
Yeah.
So it was that sense of adventure, man.
Nice. All right. So this interview we're going to go through in 3 parts, technically 4. The first part of the interview is going to be the last survivor of his generation. The second part is bringing the club to the stage. The third part is our story not told by us. And the fourth part is Cricket's alternate universe. So let's go on with the first part. You gave a brief introduction of Philly. In the 90s, would you say Philly was an influence, or was it influenced? You could talk hip hop and house.
I think Philly was in, bro. I'm gonna say in the 90s, every city, everybody had, especially, like, I didn't understand how much, because I didn't want to leave Philly at all in the 90s. Like, Philly, Jersey, it was like, one of my mentors, I see you, Keith. Keith Brooks taught me the skate in 91 in his kitchen with the whistle song. Like, so as John, I used to hang out and party with John. Like all the dudes, I made sure hopefully that all my peoples from back in the day tune in because they're a big part. I would not be the person I am without Keith, and without Sean Green, without certain people.
Peace.
Keith! So
Lewis. Yeah.
I see Louis Key. So okay, so go back. So I didn't realize because back in the 90s, one of my dance mentors' name was Angel. And Angel had been to the Red Zone around 91, 92, right? And he was telling me about New York. And I was looking at him kind of like, bruh, it's all here. But he was really trying to explain to me what he saw in New York.
I got you.
But I'm here at him like, nah, dude, Philly. You know what I mean? Because everybody, there were dancers that had, and there was so many styles, man. There was so many styles and things jumping off in Philly and South Jersey. And then but then when I got to New York, all I heard was Gamble and Huff, the music we grew up with. You know what I mean? So, I never really looked at things in terms of like who was influencing who, because for me it was always I gotta put it. I hate talking like I'm a cartoon character. Something. It was just like different adventures. Like these are my adventures in DC. These are my adventures in clubs in South Jersey. These are my adventures in Philly. And then it changed because you had Northeast Philly and then downtown. Like, so it was like different parts of, the tri-state. You got a different feel and you had to prepare in different ways. I really think everybody was influencing each other equally, because
there it is.
If somebody, because you know how the club was, man, and I miss the days of you didn't know where anybody was from, and so when somebody showed up, just different but dope. You could have been from Kansas, but if you was dope, it was just like, oh, Kansas got that shit. You know what I mean? Oh, okay. My mom might be tuning in, so I'm sorry, Mom, if I cuss. I'm getting excited. But yeah, man. And dude, you could see all my peoples from back in the day is just naming all the clubs we used to go to. I'm gonna touch on all of that.
Please do, because he's going to ask me questions also. It's a dual interview.
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. 85, the move bombing. Do you recollect that?
Yeah, I remember it. I would say there were three things as a kid that you don't forget, and I can't say it was like emotional, but it was just,
We're too
you
young.
saw how you could see how all the adults acted. So you were kind of reacting to like four things. There were five things, but the major four things that happened that you looked around and like adults were acting different. The news outlets were acting different. You're kind of like a little kid going, okay, something's wrong. And that was the move bombing, Marvin Gaye passing,
Father shot him.
yeah, the space shuttle when it exploded, and John Lennon getting killed,
getting shot.
Yeah, and also, but when the Sixers won, when the Sixers won the championship, my dad was like, you don't have to go to school. So I was like, word. Everybody was excited when the Sixers won.
For the viewers that don't know or too young to know, kind of go in briefly about what the move bombing was about.
Okay. There was a group, and I think they were an extension of the civil rights movement from what I can gather.
They were.
The move members was like an alternative like lifestyle group of blacks, and now what we call now, like, you know, alternative life, like living, like people who are living off the land and stuff,
They
that
did it back
all
then.
that stuff is glamorized now.
Yeah.
You know, natural living, giving, you know, having gardens and stuff in community. They were on that back in those days. But when we were kids and we would see them, they had dreads, they had locks. So the only people we had seen with locks, you know, were, you know, Bob Marley and Rastafarians. But then
Mhm.
you would see Move members, you would see, you know, blacks walking through with locks. And our parents, the whole, because we were too young to really get what was really happening, we were
Mhm.
always fed the misinformation. Oh, they're dirty. You know what I mean? Oh, they're dirty. Well, but you know, again, like I said before, now that same lifestyle is popular. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So yeah, and they were an extension of the civil rights movement. So a lot of stuff they were standing up for and protesting for, you know, there were a lot of social things they were standing up to and standing up for.
Absolutely.
And from what I gather, man, there was a standoff. You know, they were told to do X, Y, Z, and they stood their ground like everybody else. And then there was an escalation from the police, and this went on all day. This was like an all-day event, and it culminated with them bombing these
Craziness.
people in their homes. No negotiation, nothing. And there's a lot of there's the dark shadow of a lot of racism and classism all over that. And as we got older, and as hip hop became more mature, and political activism and black power and you know, awareness, you know, love of self, the 5% nation, when all these things started creeping in to hip hop, we then got old enough to look back and to see
Mhm.
how, you know, messed up that was, you know.
Good. All right. Let's
Yance,
go
oh my
into.
God. I got childhood friends popping in. What's up,
There it
Yance?
is. All right. Let's go into our first video. This was the Peter Paul did a founders documentary, and this is the trailer to it. So we're gonna go into that video right now.
All right.
Talk about the significance of that trailer and that day in general.
Bro, in the video, and it's funny because we're beside each other on that shot. You're like, me and you are right next to each other on that shot. You know that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the thing was, which was dope, and I pray that it sees the light of day, man. Pete was doing, you know, a lot of documentaries. I think Rise had just came out, and a lot of people, you know, you know, what we're doing right now. Pete kind of had foresight on, which is everybody's documenting their histories, right? So Pete saw this and was like, okay, we need to document because our story is just as rich as everybody else's. Plus, it's the New York paradigm is so popular in street dance that people need to know where this is all coming from. So I was honored. I was happy that he was doing it, and I was honored to be a part of it. So, and I think that was about maybe around the last time that I was oh my God, look at Troy Hughes and Mario in this joint, bro. Fams. Troy, Troy, I used to go over Troy's house and practice singing and dancing. I was thinking, I thought I was gonna be in an R&B group. Oh man, but yeah, I was honored to be a part of that shoot because that was history, bro. That footage is still historical in the sense because it had Pete had everybody. We were all in 39th Street shelter, and he was just showing the generations, man, all of us. You know what I mean? And kind of, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and I hope when it does happen, that we're there to be able to tell it as opposed to somebody else.
No, we're going to get into that. Ooh, we're getting into that. We're getting into that. Okay, yeah, let's go into your B-boy.
One more. And I think that was the last time, around that time, was when I was really still free, and I didn't cage my style. I was just like off the dome. I didn't really think about what I was doing. I was just, you know what I mean?
Let's go into your B-boy history. What was your influence?
My first influence in breaking was Wild Style, because I didn't, when I was a little kid, when breaking was popular, I was a fan. I watched all the other kids do it. But my sisters, man, my older sisters, they would always show me if there were. I remember when we lived in Virginia for a little bit, and there were poppers doing flashlight at a community center. They were performing the flashlight, and my sisters called me like, and they brought me over, and I just watched these dudes popping, but I didn't know what it was, And then when Wild Style came out, oh God, I was 5 years old when there was a TV show called That's Incredible. And That's Incredible did a story on the B-boys and, and the breakers in New York. So, we watched it and it was like, yo, that looks crazy. And then as time goes by, then we start hearing about Wild Style. And then there was a TV show, and it's so dope. Yo, if anybody, Night Flight was a show that used to come on the USA Cable Network. And all their content is on a Facebook page. They have a website, but Night Flight would just tackle everything subculture. I learned about Basquiat, breaking, just fashion. It would run all night long on the weekends from 12 to like 8 in the morning. So I would try to stay up as much as I could. My sisters would stay up and just be videotaping stuff. And they told me, you got to see what we videotaped. And it was segments of Wild Style. Nice. And it had Ken Swift and Crazy Legs. And just had all they would talk about the movies, they would talk about the kids, and then show them. And that influenced me. And then after that, and this is before everything got a little commercial, and then we got the movies like Beat Street and Breaking. Right. So again, I was like I was all the kids. I would watch kids do it and be like, you know what I mean? But then once I started getting into dance, I started dancing. It was always about, you always had to have that thing that could like help you stand out. It was all about your what you could bring. And I couldn't learn up anything standing on your feet. It took me super long to learn. Anything standing, like the party machine, I could only do one side for like a week. And when I say for a week, I was trying every day to get this step. And then I got it in the middle of art class. I kept trying to do it. Oh, look at Poke. All right.
General right there.
Then, yes, sir. And I got it in class. And I remember everybody looking at me like I was crazy. But, I got the party machine on both sides. Then, but floor moves, I could always learn like that. I don't know what it was. I could learn. I learned a flare. I got one flare on the first try. When Ace, I don't know if Ace is on here, Ace and Angel and Casper, we all were dancing for a rapper back in the day. they taught me 90s first try. Like I could just understand if it involved hands and feet on the ground, I could get it. But it was just standing up, bro. Forget about it. I was gone. I was gone.
You're grounded. You're a
I could,
ground person.
yeah. And so when we started going to the clubs, there was I had a schoolmate named Frank, and his older brother that was James was a b-boy. But when we got to the club, he was already, and this is 89, 90. When we got into the clubs, Loman, they used to nickname was Loman, he was already mixing.
Okay.
Because I remember back then, everything was kind of free. Everything was like freestyle. And it would just, and your I guess it was like your clothing dictated what you did. So everybody had that look, and then it was already about mixing. And it was kind of like, as long as you didn't do old school shit, you were good. Because if you did popping or if you did breaking, as long as you mixed it, you were good. But if you didn't mix, you straight up and just did some top rocket, people would be like, yo, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck that down. You know, Rennie used to get that because Rennie used to come out back in the day. And he used to come out straight pop. We used to be like, fuck out of here, man. You know what I mean? Because it was like, yo, we on that new stuff, man.
Yeah, of course. That's hip hop. That's hip hop. New.
Yeah. And you know, Lord knows now I'm doing half already stuff now. But back then, you know, we were like, yo, get out of here, old man. Get out of here. You know what I mean?
We're gonna touch on Rennie also.
So we were but I'm gonna get to the break-in. So we were still, it wasn't until I got in Pure Movement and Rennie started teaching us breaking stuff. But again, it was only out of, we just want that next, we want to have something that other people don't have. So Rennie taught us swipes. He was just teaching us old breaking stuff. And again, it was us remixing it to bring it back. But we weren't B-boys. We still didn't, you know, but we had that in our pocket as a, like freestyle. But then when I got to New York and saw the Step Fiends, bro, it was life-changing. It was life-changing. And the thing was, BJ, it was BJ, my homie BJ. Me and BJ had known each other when we were teenagers. And then B went to school. I forgot where, I think North Jersey or New York, he went to school. When BJ came back, I had stopped dancing, like seriously, but I was still doing stuff with Pure Movement. BJ came back and was different. And he had like, you know, we were club heads, you know, doing club stuff. But then BJ came back and he had the breaking, it was, the science was in him. And all he could say was, Crick, you gotta get up to New York, son. And when we got up to New York, he brought us to the Sound Factory bar, and that's when we saw the Step Fiends, and it was mind-blowing. I'd never seen that. You know, we were seeing breaking, but as it passed to this new generation and the movement, everything was next level. Yes. So I needed it. And in wanting to get it, the one thing about breaking isn't casual. And I'm not saying you can't just like get breaking. You can't just get like popping, you can kind of play with and get all the others. Breaking is a commitment, bro. You got to stop everything. So in order for me to be able to bring breaking into my repertoire, I had to stop everything, bro. I looked like Rennie would tease me, look crazy for the first year. But, you know, me and BJ would train and, you know, Clone, because, you know, I worked, but Cyclone was teaching BJ stuff, and I was kind of getting stuff off of BJ, and then we were getting videotapes and then practicing, and then any breaking events that were going down, we would go in there like we were like that Step Fiend thing stuff, because we were just like fiending. Any way to get the information into us was, you know, pinnacle.
Nah. Let's get into your house. When did you start that? Who was your influence?
So when I first started going out, it was kind of like a trickle, because when we first started going out, you know, of course, everybody's first thing, I think, all over the planet, or in America, I think, was skating rinks, because we weren't old enough. First thing we got we went to skating rinks. Then I met a man by the name of Sean Green. Sean Green was like I would follow him around. Then he was like, oh, we ended up going to the same high school, because I got kicked out of the high school that I was in. I was getting too much trouble, so they sent me to the other high school across town. And I would see Sean at the skating rink, and he was going to the school. So he kind of like adopted me as his little brother, and he took me to a club. And I was like, the hell? He took me, it was like a teen club. So when all the discos were closing, they became, because disco was, I don't think people understand how big disco was. There were discotheques all over because they were making money. But then once disco, the fad died, because, you know, that's a whole nother story, but they turned over these discotheques that catered disco to like clubs that play R&B and party music. So there was one that was called, oh my God, how do I forget Electric Playground. Electric Playground, it was kind of like a franchise. They had one in Philly and one in Trenton, right outside of Trenton. Sean brought me there, and when I went there, that's the first time I ever got into the circle. I just saw everybody dance. So I jumped in and just did some shit. Everybody was like, yo! And then I was like, I love this. This is that shit. And then, so every time Sean would go to a place that we all we started. My childhood friend was working at the Hideout. My childhood friend, Chad, was a dishwasher there. And that happened to be the place that had the Sunday kids night. So me and Sean ended up getting jobs there as well. So not only were we dancing there, but we would serve soda to all the other kids.
Nice.
And so and it was party music, man. It was like R&B, not a lot of hip hop, but like the danceable hip hop, like It Takes Two, anything that Eric B and Rakim did, Public Enemy, doing like, it was just R&B, and it was just anything danceable, because they played The Cure, they played the B-52s, so it was just like party music, you know.
Nice.
But we still didn't hear house yet, but I was seeing it. Anytime I saw things to do with house or club, I can't even say house, but club, it would throw my eye off, because the rhythm would change. And I'll tell you that somebody explained it to me. I don't know if it was Khalif or Peter Paul. Peter Paul explained it. Because if you watch IOU that did It Takes Two, our only way to get moves were watching
videos, facts,
music videos. So when It Takes Two came on, I could grab everything. But once IOU started doing all this, Pete was like, because they were going to the garage on college night. So they were, not only were they doing hip hop stuff, they were pulling in the club stuff. So whenever I saw it would throw my eye. I couldn't grab the rhythm, because hip hop was very like, it was just bop, bop. But when everything got to this, like, I was like, yo, something's off. Like, I couldn't catch it. I couldn't resonate. I was a kid. Right. So eventually Keith Brooks and them, they were going to North Jersey to Electric Playground. So then me and Sean, we were chopping it up with Keith and Ira and Brad, and they were next level, because they were going to the scary clubs. Were always had the best dancers.
Of course.
So when we went to Electric Playground in North Jersey, the fashion was different. That's when I started seeing club culture that people started knowing as house, because Trenton was just close enough to New York that I walked in, I had my little high top, and I saw a dude with his shirt tied with the earrings in both ears. I was like, he gay. But then he was bagging he was like one of the best dancers in the club, and was bagging all the girls.
All
Next
day.
week, shirt had his ears pierced. I was just like, oh, I get it now. So, but in that club we were going, and then one night when I went back with my a good friend of mine, Robert Young, Robbie, another childhood friend. We went up, and there was a crew there called the F-Men, and you know they were telling us about this kid named Tony. They're there's this dude named Tony. So they were playing more like hip house, but we weren't getting straight house. But everything had, and then everything was still cadence dance, meaning that a song came on, we all started chanting, and we would all do steps together. So everything had this like little college chants, but then I remember the lights got dark and the music changed, and I was like, yo, what the fuck is going on? You know, it got dark, the music got creepy. Everything to me, when I first heard techno and I first heard house, it sounded creepy to me. It just had this darkness to it. So it got dark. I went to there was like a stage that you could look down, because I was like, yo, what? Something's going on. So I go to the stage and I look down. Sekou comes out. I'm like 15, 16. Sekou is dancing, and I'm looking at him like, I don't know what's going on. Because I'd never seen any, because when you're like 14, 15, hip hop is so like,
right.
And that, when Sekou and his people started moving, I was just like, yo, like, it was scary looking. It was creepy looking, because you're not used to seeing somebody so smooth. And the dudes in the clique that were already smooth, Keith was a smooth cat, you know, Brad was a smooth cat. And the stuff that they were, yep. So Keith is on there right now. He's saying all the stuff. Yep. That's how we were hearing a lot of the hip house stuff. But later in the night, they would play straight up house. And that's when I was just like, yo. So, but then again, we got to go home. And we don't know, I don't know when I'm going to see this next. So, but in seeing Sekou, you know, everybody was calling him Tony at the time, Tony and his peoples, it was like, yo, and then it was a other thing. If we go back, is that dude and his friends going to come back? So it was like, we go up there, they're there sometimes, they're not there sometimes. And so this is when I'm getting that early, we're still calling it clubbing. I still don't.
Absolutely.
And I didn't like house music if I didn't hear it in the club, because when I would go home and listen to it, I was like, yo, this shit is too long. There was no atmosphere, there was no mix. So it's like, I would always be like, yo, something's missing. So
you
I
needed the environment. Yeah.
Yeah. Tape it.
Yeah.
And be sitting there going, I'll turn off, I would edit it to make them like 3 or 4 minutes.
The same, bro. I wasn't into hip hop.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah. And then I
mean, house. I'm sorry. I wasn't into house, not hip hop. House.
Yeah. Then Brad and Keith were still showing me stuff, and I was still seeing Sekou and his peoples in here and there. And then I started hearing, because then the dance music started getting like, had a lot of Latinx. The chants started, we started to do like Latin chants were going on in the music. We would chant over the music. And we would all saying, Dale, Weber. We would all yell it, because everybody was yelling in the club, so we would all yell it. And that's when and then we would start to see some of the Puerto Rican kids, the Dominican kids, they were like, yo, we doing Weber. So that's when I heard it. I didn't know what it was, but it was always the danger. It was always the kids. It was like the most dangerous kids were always the best dancers, man.
All day. The gangsters are the best dancers. Yeah.
And so, and it, you know, back in the day when you see me I would wear the handkerchief here. I got that from watching those kids. Yeah, you know, we didn't know if it was bad or good. I just did it because they were cool.
Style.
And then eventually I went to a club in Philly called the Limelight, which ended up becoming the Baseline. And when I went there, that's when it was like, oh, this is house. But it was kind of like we had, you know, we were like inched into it. It was kind of like, we got the hip house, and it was like hip house, acid jazz, or acid house. And acid house was kind of like oh, it had that pinch of techno, which I was already getting inundated with from like from Public Enemy and all that. They call it, I guess they call it the British music. It's called Energy. You remember that song?
Yep.
Pump Up the Volume.
Yep.
All that Moments in Love, you know, Kraftwerk, all that stuff. It was kind of like leading us into, it was like prepping us for house. So once I got into a house called Pitch Black, black light, it smells of drugs and sex, and you know, fat. Everybody's fat. The fashion is the dancing. That's when it was like, ooh, I'm a fan. But it was still called club. That music was referred to at house. But even like, oh my God, T. Alfred, love you, T. T. Alfred was a DJ, and he's responsible for a lot of DJs coming out of Philly. King Brett, Josh Wink, a lot of dudes. He was the man that was playing house, and he did a thing called the Club Countdown every Friday on Power 99, and that's where we heard all the house songs that put us on. You know what I mean? And right, that's Shakan's in there. Yeah, all the commercial house songs, which helped us into the real good shit. You know what I mean? So, and again, man, it was like a drug. I was just chasing that high, man. Chasing that.
It was melodically haunting. It was melodically haunting.
Yeah. And because DJs were mixing their asses off, no matter if you heard it at home, you were like, I want to hear it like I heard it in that club. This ain't good enough.
Exactly.
This ain't good. I gotta go. But I don't think people understand that we were going out, and I missed this. I was going out for the experience, not to just dance. I wanted the experience. I wanted it because I wasn't going to hear the music. The DJ it was just an overall sensory overload that I was going, that got me into house. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay, let's go into the next question. Your crew affiliations. I know you spoke about Step Fiends, but let's go into it. You have Step Fiends, Soul Sector. Is there any more?
And Crazy Natives.
Okay, get into who was first and break it down.
When it's hard because I had my fam, my clique. You know, when I don't know if everybody understands. When you will go to the club, you would go to the club with your friends from your neighborhood, or that you know. So that was kind of like your first crew, and that first crew would be like Keith, Brad, Sean Green, and then and you always had people in your clique that didn't dance that were just there, like Sean, Earl, Ira, our Angel, not the other dancing Angel. So that was kind of like my first, clique, because we would always go to the clubs together. So that was kind of
and these are Crazy Natives.
No, these are just people from my neighborhood that I grew up with.
Okay.
That was like your first crew because that's who you rolled with. If there was a fight breaking down,
perspective
was good. Yeah. That was your family,
Okay.
So I would say that would be, and we taught everything that any dance crew, because most of your dance crews start out like that. They're local. They're not like, so from there, then I would say I got it with Clyde Evans. And then it was like me, Clyde, and Joey. Everybody had their clique that they rolled with. And then everybody from the borough. And then from that's when, and then Pure Movement was kind of like this unsaid thing because we always were together.
Okay.
But then when I got to New York, and me and BJ were already like fam. But when we got to New York, that's when it became a little more serious because it was, we saw Step Fiends and they kind of put on, because I was always with BJ and BJ was a Step Fiend. It was kind of like, yo, this dude is getting nice from being around us. We got to put him on. So they put me on. I became a Step Fiend.
Okay.
And then I think at one of the Rocksteady reunions, I met Mikey, because the thing was, I would say before the Chronic came out. Before the Chronic came out, house, like club had went, it peaked, and shit started getting cheesy. Like Rhythm is no offense to the artist, but Rhythm is a Dancer, all that kind of cheeseball shit came out.
Horrible.
But it kind of put that commercial tinge. Whereas you could hear "I'll Be Your Friend." You used to hear "I'll Be Your Friend" on the radio. Now you're hearing Rhythm is a Dancer. So it went from hearing the good stuff to hearing the cheesy stuff. The Chronic hit, and then overnight, a lot of my friends that like had dreads and bushy hair, and they all started cutting it and getting to the gangster. They stopped dancing. They just wanted to look hard. And I wasn't in it. So when that happened, man, I got depressed. I stopped really dancing like that.
What year was this? Break that down, this timestamp.
93-ish, 92, 93.
Okay, yeah,
and so we kind of thought, in my mind, I was like, it's dead. It's dead. It's not happening. I didn't have social media to be like, it's still going on. BJ was the one that found it, went up there. But so when you talk to people like Mikey Disco, Tsunami, everybody out in Seattle, Mario, we were all from that freestyle club era, but we were being like almost forgotten. So the only way we could meet other dancers, get with other dancers, was through the breaking scene. So if you saw somebody that was into freestyle, you would gravitate and be like, yo, I think this dude's got dreads, or the way she's dancing is different. So everybody that was still kind of into freestyle was finding each other at different events.
Okay. I want to go to Soul Sector, but before I do that, I want to get into another video. This is your house judge at Tapwater Jam.
Ooh.
Go into that one.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Your spirit, I want to mention, your spirit looked very comfortable at that Tapwater Jam. So talk about that.
Mike, you family. You family, dude. So Mike can say that because he knows me. And I found myself finally. I found myself in the sense of I was kind of I was always longing for community, because everything you hear me talk about, I'm always referring to community. I got in through community. I got in through Sean Green and Keith and Brad and Ira. It was always, I was never one person. I always came, you know, it was always recorded. But and well, why don't I say what's up to everybody until we get him to go back? What's up, everybody? But until he gets back, I'll continue to answer the question. Hey, Keith. Hey, it's fixed? It's not fixed. It's not fixed, Ozzy. We're still waiting. It's not fixed. I'll say what's up to everybody. Anybody got any questions while I'm at it? Until we get Mike back on, any questions? Yo, Ant. Hey, little Rick. That's my nephew's here. Hey, John's here. Man, yo, Keith, you have no idea. Yo, what I was saying earlier, you see how everybody's chiming in? This is community right here. This is how community works. We've all touched each other. What up, Keen? We've all touched each other and we've all learned from each other. And I think that is super important to what we're doing now. And I think that it's important that we never lose sight of that. There was a terminology that DJ Basil, who is historical up here, you know, in the New York dance scene, he said, you know, yeah, back in the day it was each one teach one. And it's always been like that in this scene, bro. It's always each one teach. It's always about community. You know, if you look at any famous rapper, any famous dancer, you could always look back to where they came from. You know what I mean? The environment which their people they came up with. And I'm a product of y'all. Y'all know who y'all are. I'm naming names, but there's a lot of people I'm forgetting. But every name I see, every name I've seen in the club. You know what I mean? A lot of the names. You know what I mean? So yeah, Mike, I don't know, man. Mike, I think Mike might had a problem with his internet because he dropped out. I couldn't hear him. But you know, until he comes back, we're doing this in sections anyways. So how about we do it like this? I'll end it at 2 and come back for the next section and just, you know, wait for him. But, you know, I'll just have dialogue with my people. Oh, my God. Dave is bringing up names. Okay, see, here we go. Angel and Cookie and Todd. When I was talking about South Jersey, the South Jersey kids, those were the kids that was repping hard. And we were coming from all different parts of South Jersey and meeting in either clubs in South Jersey or going over to clubs in Philly. And again, we were all a part of the same community, and it wasn't about who was the best as much as, okay, here we go. Mike is coming back. Bang. So,
okay. Everything was salvaged greatly. We stopped from Soul Sector. How'd you get connected with them?
It was the tap water.
Oh, okay, but you finished that. You explained that.
I didn't finish the tap water because I was going to say that I finally got comfortable because of community, because the community that was formed at the session became that third iteration of the Crazy Natives. And through that community of Crazy Natives, so I'll put it to you like this. You remember when we used to be all up on the stage at I think all my best times in dance were when I was connected. So remember when we used to all be on stage at Shelter? It was pretty much all Step Fiends and any other visiting dancer. That sense of you everything's not showcase. It's not about it's not presenting. We're just experimenting. We're trying things.
It just is. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're experimenting, we're testing out things, and that's how we were able to form our style. So what you see in the tap water thingy is me getting comfortable in myself through my crew. You know what I mean? That was, you know, and really find myself, like what I like to do. I'm running through all my inspirations, man. I'm running through stuff you do, Terry. I touch upon everybody who influenced me in that solo. That's why I really like that, because I touch on Brian Green, I touch on Ejo, I touch on Shan, I touch on you, Terry, Rennie, you know what I mean? Tone Bones. All my influences are channeling through that. And you could see it, because when you see something, you know, like, okay, that's Crick got that from me. You know what I mean?
I
So
saw
that,
it. But I saw the comfort level. I
yeah,
saw it. You were very natural.
yeah.
Let's go into Soul Sector.
Okay.
How'd you hook up with that?
When me and Mikey met, 97 Rock Steady, then it was just dialogue, because we were trying to find out who was still doing it. And I loved the Soul Brothers, because the thing was, living in Jersey and watching music videos, I didn't know where a lot of these dancers were coming from. You know, some of them from New York, some of them from Cali, some from England, because those were where a lot of the music videos were coming from. So when I saw Mikey and we got that dialogue, and oh god damn it, and the Black Eyed Peas, like, they were doing all the Cali stuff. So when me and Mikey started that dialogue, he was, you know, he started giving me, you know, the history, and this dude, he started telling me about Super Dave's crew. If Mikey's in the crew that Super Dave came from, I forgot their names.
Okay.
But so it became just an information funnel for me and Mikey. Me and Mikey's connection was strictly through, okay, here on the West Coast they do this. Okay, in Cali they do this, and we were just so, and through that, and then it became us teaching each other things. So he would show me or put me in contact with somebody there. That's how I met Tsunami. That's how I started. Mikey, yeah, Housing Authority. Yep, Housing Authority. So, you know, and was showing me footage of them, and I'm sitting there like mind blown. So it was just an information thing. And then through that, meeting everybody in Soul, you know, the usual thing. You can become a part of the community. You start talking to each other on a regular basis. And then, you know, it's like fam, you know. And
were you responsible for bringing house dance to them, or they already knew it?
They were already playing with it. I just was able to because the thing is, in me going, yes, we were trading VHS tapes. Go any VHS
Mikey.
tape, I would give it to them, and then they would give me, you know, videotapes. And in the videotape exchanging, it was a lot of, oh, this is this. This comes from this. This is coming from this. You know, this is this freak. These guys, this style was in, like, Mikey would break down. This dude is doing the style. They were inspired by James Brown and mixing James Brown with freestyle hip hop, and then showing me. It's so funny because he was showing me how Wrecking Shop affected. Mikey was the first person that I got insight on it. Everybody, Wrecking Shop resonated with everybody all over the world and all over the United States differently. So
yes,
whereas people in Soul Sector were interpreting Peter Paul's movement and giving it, they were naming the moves something different, and we were it was just the sense of adventure and connection, man. It was just like my club, my club, like adventure sphere was just getting bigger and bigger, you know. Because for me, I was like a movie file, man. I loved new shit. I love new steps. I love new information, man. Like none of us dance the same, man. Like we could spend a day watching you. We could spend a day, bro. You know, there was some nights where we would all sit down and just watch Tone. Then we would sit down and watch you, or then watch. And it's no disrespect to the elders before us, but it was kind of like we had our community. We were kind of chasing each other. You know what I mean?